Hey, what's up? And welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we're bringing it back to our now tri-weekly James Bond preparation marathon with the 9th film in the franchise, The Man with the Golden Gun, still starring Roger Moore. Obviously, we jumped from weekly to tri-weekly because No Time to Die was delayed until late November, which means that it won't even come out to digital till next year. So I'm reviewing this one now. Probably the 10th will be reviewed next week, maybe 2 weeks from now, and I should be caught up with a proper schedule at that point, meaning that I'll finish this rewatch marathon sometime next year. Fun! Well, I mean, if a national quarantine happens because of this coronavirus, I'll stop producing videos altogether for a while because my opportunities to do so will be severely limited at that point. I'm just saying. Now, I did have a word of the day for you today, but I keep having Lethalogica. So let's get cracking. This review is brought to you by the word of the day, Lethalogica, the inability to remember a particular word or name. The Man with the Golden Gun brings James Bond back into the silver screen to track down a man named Scaramanga, also known as the Man with the Golden Gun. He is after a solar device called the Solex, but secretly he's also after Bond. And as seen from the first scene in the film, he has an elaborate trap to lure Bond into, but can James Bond evade Scaramanga's evil intentions? Can Bond escape this time? Well, does an elephant poop? As I said before, I'm not a huge fan of Roger Moore as Bond, since he brings a level of cartoony, goofy elements to the character. In the last movie, there was this one villain who gets inflated like a balloon and starts flying away. And in this film, James Bond infiltrates a secret base with Q's latest invention, which is a third nipple. Not even kidding, the only spy gadget in this movie is a third nipple that Bond has to wear. You don't click it to create a bomb, it's not a tracking beacon, it's not a tiny little camera, it's just a prosthetic nipple.
What'll they think of next?
He really is the Looney Tunes version of James Bond, and it aggravates me so much because, heck, it doesn't even feel like Bond that much. It feels kind of like Dr. No. It feels like a detective mystery film where Bond is following clue after clue until he arrives at the end. Except with Dr. No, it felt more like Bond because Bond was this brilliant spy. He's ready for every possible scenario. And in The Man with the Golden Gun, you got third nipples. That's right, I am gonna keep saying nipples. Nipple. I will say one thing though, and I have said this with the last review too. Roger Moore was the best generation of James Bond when it came down to practical effects. In the last film, you had him jumping on actual alligators as stepping stones. You had him jumping from one spot to the next in a speedboat, and in this film is the corkscrew car jump. There's this really neat moment in the film where James Bond lines his car up with a broken bridge and ramps it, which doesn't just have the car jump from one spot to the next. No, it spins like a corkscrew and lands safely on the other side, all of which was real. All of it. The broken bridge was diligently created to look like a busted up, decrepit old bridge, but a lot of math was also put into place to make sure the car would do exactly what they wanted it to do. Fast and Furious focuses a lot on computer-generated effects, mechanical effects, but they didn't have that kind of stuff back then. They had to do it for real here, so they made it happen with practical effects, and I can't not praise them for it. Past that, we had some good uses of production design, lighting, color, at least in two different instances. First, there's this madhouse/maze type thing going on in a scene which Scaramanga is using to lure Bond through, and I'm sure that took a lot of effort to create altogether. And there's this sunken, tilted ship that Bond has to traverse through, where MI6 has set up shop. And it's actually pretty cool because you can see he's walking on a corner of the ship, the desk is bolted down, stuff in the background's kind of slanted to one angle, and it's kind of a madhouse all on its own. It's great production design in my opinion, and it helps set this film apart. But as a whole, other than that, it's hard to distinguish it from other Bond films. The Golden Gun in question is one of the stupidest, most ugly looking things I've ever seen in my entire life. I really don't care if it was custom built or not. It's disproportionate and probably the most uncomfortable thing to hold. Christopher Lee seemed to be a decent casting choice for a Bond villain though, since he can always pull off that type of role really well, even if it is a bit typecast. He seemed pretty smart as a character, had a lot of charisma on screen, and I don't mind the character, but I don't feel like he was utilized to his full advantage because Roger Moore kind of sucks as Bond, so they didn't really feel like perfect adversaries. Plus, I was never really super clear as to why Scaramanga was dead set against Bond and wanted him dead, other than the fact that he's a Bond villain. I didn't understand his motive. It is always nice to see them step away from the Spectre angle though and just try to take their hands on something original. So let's take a look at that final score. Obviously, I don't hate it. There are moments in this film that are still laughable, like the whole third nipple thing, and even the moment where the whole "I kill you" thing came from. There are mediocre things attached to this film, like the fact that overall the concept doesn't feel very much like a huge spy operation. But it also has good things too, like I said, practical effects, production design, lighting, color, Christopher Lee. So it wasn't all bad. My unbiased view is that it deserves a score of 74%, but overall I found it to be an underwhelming film in the franchise, so my bias score is 62%, averaging everything out to a final score of 68%, 68 out of 100 possible stars, granting it the letter grade of D, which isn't too bad given the fact that I think my original score for it was 58%. It's not very engaging or anything, but I still think it's better than the last film, which would typically mean that things are heading back to a better light for James Bond. We will see though. Guys, I want your thoughts and opinions on Man with the Golden Gun in the comments down below, and which Roger Moore film is your favorite. As for YouTube, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button if you like this review and would like to see some others like it. Hit the thumbs up button because that always helps out my channel, and don't forget about the little bell icon because that'll help notify you when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace out!